Hey, it is Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and welcome to this Words of Wisdom Wednesday, where we're going to take a look at leadership insights from the Bible. Now, whether you're a person of faith or not, the leadership lessons recorded in the 66 books of the Bible are fantastic leadership lessons that we can use and apply in everyday life. These 66 books of the Bible, spanning thousands of years of human history, give us a picture of good leadership, great leadership, poor leadership, and bad leadership, and the lessons we can learn from each. Now, we're in the book of Exodus. We're looking at the life of Moses. Last week in the teaching, we talked about Moses and his burning bush moment in the story that we read in Exodus chapter 3. Today, we pick that up in Exodus chapter 4 as Moses is continuing to have a conversation with God related to his calling to be a leader. So Moses answered, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me?" All throughout the second half of chapter 3, Moses and God are having a dialogue about Moses being called to lead the children of Israel. And Moses is arguing over his inability and his lack of experience and knowledge and all the other excuses that he could raise. But notice in this specific question, Moses is really getting to the heart of his concern in terms of his calling as a leader. And that's this: what if they don't believe me or they won't listen to me? So that brings us to an important leadership insight. Every good leader is sometimes going to question themselves. They're going to question whether or not the people they're called to lead are going to accept them or going to refuse to follow their leadership. They're also going to question whether or not the people that they are called to lead are going to listen to my message and obey the instructions you give them and be willing to follow the action plan you lay out that lead them to success. Well, this is true of most leaders, if not all leaders, that at some point we have that concern. Are we going to be accepted? Are we going to be followed when we step into the leadership role? Well, part of that is your responsibility to demonstrate that you are an effective leader to win the faith and the trust and the admiration of your people so that they are willing to follow you. Just because you show up and you say, "I'm here," doesn't mean people are willing to follow you. People will follow leaders who demonstrate they are worthy of being followed. So let's continue and look at how this was answered by God in Exodus chapter 4, verse 2. Then the Lord said to Moses, "What is that in your hand?" And the passage goes on where Moses says it is a staff. In the story, Moses is instructed to throw the staff on the ground. It transforms into a snake. And then Moses is instructed to pick up the snake. And when he does, it transforms back into a staff. But the important point I want to make here is the Lord said to Moses, "What is that in your hand?" Now, the leadership lesson I want you to get from that is this: good leaders already possess what is needed for them to be effective leaders. Why is that? Because good leaders have already invested the time in themselves to learn how to not only lead themselves well, but to lead others well in the process. For Moses, he had gone to Midian. He had married into Jethro's family. He had been mentored by Jethro, just as he had been mentored as a young man in Egypt and been exposed to the teachings and trainings of the Pharaoh's family. Here, Moses had spent years learning from a proven leader who was the leader of the people of Midian. And as Moses was learning from him, he was being prepared and equipped to lead. Not only was he helping Jethro lead his family, he was leading Jethro's flocks and the servants and the shepherds that helped to lead those sheep or whatever it was that they were shepherding in this particular passage. Moses was learning valuable lessons that could be repurposed and reused elsewhere. Now, hear me when I say this. As a leader, every time you have an opportunity to lead, you're going to learn something about leadership that doesn't just apply where you are. you're going to be able to repurpose what you learned in another leadership opportunity in the future. That is one of the reasons as a leader, you want to be continually learning, growing, improving, and maturing, becoming a better version of yourself so that you can take the tools and resources that you've acquired along the way, your gifts, your talents, your knowledge, your ability, and other physical tools that you may have to be able to purpose and repurpose those for the leadership that is needed in that moment. Now, let's go on and continue our look in Exodus chapter 4. Moses' response after agreeing and settling on the fact he had been called to lead and he was going to do what he was called to do. Exodus 4, verse 18, Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, "Let me return to my own people in Egypt to see if any of them are still alive." And Jethro said, "Go, and I wish you well." So what do we pick up from this? It is the responsibility of a leader to make sure before he or she leaves, the prior job in the area in which they're leading is not left unfinished and undone. For Moses, it was getting permission to stop leading Jethro's family and flocks and to make sure there was a leadership plan in place that someone could step into his role when Moses went on to his next leadership calling. Now, that is part of our responsibility as leaders. You and I as leaders, not only are we there to lead and to help an organization or our family or a volunteer group to see success, we are there to equip and train the individuals around us that we are leading to develop not followers, but to develop the leaders around us, to equip and train and empower them to become leaders in their own right, and identify the leaders that we want to pour into and equip those leaders that will one day take our place. Whether you're serving in a leadership role for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, or for decades, part of your calling as a leader to make sure you don't leave the job unfinished and undone is to equip the leaders who will one day take your place so that when they step into the role that you're leading, they not only lead as well as you do, they have the opportunity to lead better because you've been able to add your collective leadership knowledge and wisdom to what they have also learned on their own. And our goal is to set the next generation of leaders up for success. So remember, if you're already leading somewhere, you want to make sure you finish the job before you leave. Do what you've been called to do, finish what you've been called to finish, but make sure you've also prepared that organization to be ready to bring that next leader in that has been equipped, empowered, and trained by you to be able to step in and effectively continue leading and leading well. Now, let's wrap up today's teaching looking at verse 4, verse 29. Then Moses and Aaron together brought all of the elders of Israel, and Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. Now, Moses and a family member, Aaron, had come together and they had decided that together they would lead. God had put these two together as a team to go be an effective leadership team in the job that was ahead. But there's a leadership lesson here in what we see Moses and Aaron doing. They brought together all the elders of Israel, and Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. So what do we take from that? It's this: a leader or a leadership team is going to assemble team leaders and share their vision, and they're going to share their plan. And we see in this passage that's exactly what Moses and Aaron did. They called the elders of Israel, the individuals who would be an integral part of their team. They would be leaders in their own right, following the leadership of Moses and Aaron, but they would also be assisting and helping Moses and Aaron in the job that they had been called to do, and that was to lead the children of Israel out of slavery in the story that we read in the book of Exodus. So what's our takeaway from that? As a leader, your vision for success has to be conveyed clearly to everyone on the team. You've got to get their acceptance. You've got to get their buy-in to the vision so that they can see this is where we're going, and it's got to be somewhere they too want to go. Now, the second part of this particular insight is this: a leader must not only share vision to show people the picture of where they're going and what it's going to look like when they get there, the leader also has to define the steps in the process, how the vision is going to be executed, and what is the plan for success. You know, it's been said a vision without a plan is just a dream and a wish. But as a leader, your goal in stepping into a new leadership position is, number one, cast a vision for success. Let people see the journey you're going to take them on and where they're going and what a win is going to look like when they get there. And then you also have to define the steps along the way, how the vision is going to be executed, and what is the plan for achieving success. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's leadership insight from the Bible in this Words of Wisdom Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this and you want more leadership lessons, let me encourage you to follow me. I've got 2 video channels that I share leadership content on, and there's a plethora of prior content that's archived there, YouTube and Rumble. The channel is the same. Simply search for Be a Black Belt Leader on YouTube and on Rumble, and you've got free access to all the videos on both of those channels, and new videos are added every week. If you love podcasts, I do have a podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on Google, it's on iTunes, it's on a variety of different platforms, but the podcast name is Black Belt Leadership. On the contact set area of my website, beablackbeltleader.com, you'll have an opportunity to access my social media and all of the various channels that are there. I'll give you more on that in just a moment. Now, if you are a person of faith and you loved the lesson that you heard today and you would like more leadership lessons from the Bible, not only do I teach leadership from a general leadership perspective, I do have some unique pieces that I put together that are specifically faith-based in focus. One of those you'll find at beablackbeltleader.com. That's my website, beablackbeltleader.com. In the courses area of the website, you'll find an email series you can subscribe to. It's free of charge, called Leadership Lessons from the Bible. That's 10 leadership lessons looking at effective leadership from characters from the Bible and the lessons learned from each. And while you're at the website, beablackbeltleader.com, please make sure and you peruse all of the other free and paid content that's available. But also notice on the Contact Us page, you can access all my social media channels where daily, Monday through Friday, I post some leadership tip, tool, resource, or insight that you can read for yourself, consider for yourself, and share with other people to help me spread the Black Belt leadership message to the masses. You'll also see my Substack channel where you'll find the opportunity to be able to subscribe to my weekly newsletter that's free of charge. You'll also find on there all of my podcast channels where you can listen to the Be a Black Belt Leader podcast. Again, I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader. Thank you for joining me on this Words of Wisdom Wednesday. Have a great day.